Mercedes' optimism about the future in the championship increased after a good run on the Catalunya Circuit. The optimism unfortunately proved to be transient, and its porpoising issue, rather than decreasing, has exacerbated. The team's performance in Monaco was not very impressive, and the third and fourth spot they secured in Baku is more because of Ferrari's misfortune than the car's brilliance. The W13 car has been experiencing violent bouncing since the start of the season, and it looked horrible in Baku, making it nearly impossible to drive. The upgrade package introduced before Spain has not solved the problem, and now the future of Mercedes looks in trouble. In this video, we will look at the extent of the porpoising Mercedes is facing, the intervention of FIA in the matter, and whether Mercedes will be able to turn things around or consider the season finished for them. The 2.2-kilometre long straight in Baku exaggerated the porpoising for them. Most teams faced the issue during the qualifying rounds, but not as much as Mercedes experienced. George Russell qualified for P5 and Lewis Hamilton ended up in P7. On Sunday, they made it to P3 and P4 thanks to Ferrari, but the car gave a hard time to Lewis Hamilton and he expressed his concerns to the team on the radio. Toto Wolff, the team's boss, said, "I think we are looking at all possible solutions under the leadership of Mike Elliott. He's a really strong technical director. There are no holy cows. Everything is being looked at and we will for sure bring the car back on track. If things can't be sorted out in the short term because they are conceptual, for sure they will be sorted out in the next couple of months." This is bad news for Mercedes as they are unsure whether they can fix the problem quickly. They are currently out of contention in both drivers and constructors' standings. George Russell is lagging 51 points behind Max Verstappen, who is leading the table with 150 points. Mercedes lags 118 points behind Red Bull, which is at the top of the table in the constructors' standings. The Canadian Grand Prix is just a few days from now, and the circuit is even bumpier than the one at Azerbaijan, which will make their porpoising issue worse. The porpoising issue is not only affecting Mercedes' standings in the championship, it has become a nightmare for drivers as well. Lewis Hamilton, in the middle of the race in Baku, said on the radio that his back was killing him, and talking to the media after the race described it as the most painful race I've experienced. This has now become a driver's safety issue and the FIA wants to launch an investigation to get to the bottom of the matter. However, other teams which do not seem to be affected by porpoising are now blaming Mercedes for pressuring FIA to look into the matter and bring new rules and regulations. Christian Horner, the Red Bull team principal, was not on board with it and criticised the FIA's intervention. He said that the issue is not faced by every other team. It is an isolated issue affecting certain teams, by which he meant Mercedes, and it should look into it rather than calling for changes across the board. His views were also shared by Martin Brundle, a former racing driver, as he told Sky Sports News, "I think the teams are playing this quite hard in that they want some changes made. The drivers want some changes made because the Mercedes is particularly bad. The teams that have got it sorted out are clearly saying that's Mercedes' problem, it's not Formula One's problem. I think Christian is saying more or less exactly the same as what I'm saying. It's a problem for the teams to sort out. Any changes in rules by the FIA at this point in the competition will hurt other teams, and they have a point when they are raising their voice against change. But the reality is that porpoising was experienced by every team in Baku, and in Canada it will not be any better. This does present a problem for teams when it comes to drivers' safety in the long term, especially for Mercedes, because its drivers would have no time to recover from the painful drive in Baku to another one in Montreal within a few days' time. To solve the issue, Mercedes would have to compromise on its car's performance to at least make the car drivable. However, decreasing the car's performance will further drag them down in the competition, which will be a bitter pill to swallow for the team. On finding a fix for porpoising, Bundle said, "Of course the teams can fix it by raising the car, but then they lose a huge amount of performance. They have had to sacrifice comfort and performance, and what's surprising really is Mercedes can't seem to get a handle on what actually looks like quite an excellent car if they could just unlock it. McLaren's Lando Norris also shared the same thoughts on the issue and said that the teams experiencing the problem need to find a balance between performance and driver discomfort. And because they do not have a much deeper understanding of the issue, they cannot maintain the car's performance and would have to sacrifice some of it to make it smoother for the drivers, especially on bumpier roads. The W13 seems to perform well when the roads are smoother, as was the case in Barcelona, but not so much when the tracks are bouncy, as seen in Monaco and Baku, which will be the case in Montreal. While the Spanish Grand Prix brought back the team's confidence to put up a fight for the championship, the next two races saw it wane. Toto Wolff might have been overly optimistic when he said after the race in Spain, "Can we fight for a world championship? Well, we bet we can." Now the team is looking to survive the season and learn and improve its car for the next season. As Toto Wolff said, "I still think there's a short-term fix that's making us much more competitive, but it might not explain everything. I'd like to get the car in the right position for the second half of the year and also for next year. The learning is more key than short-term optimization for the weekend." The next Grand Prix in Canada is another learning curve for the team, as he went on to say. Montreal is bouncy. Montreal, it's high curb ride. After Montreal, I expect to have a better view. As head of trackside engineering, Andrew Chauvelin said, "Montreal isn't a smooth circuit, but maybe places like Ricard and Silverstone, this car would work better. But even if we get onto a smooth track, we're well aware that the base performance isn't there either at the moment. We've got to ramp that up." If the team did not succeed to find a solution to the issue, they might have to overhaul things for 2023. And Andrew Chauvelin said, "There's a lot of areas that we're looking at. So I think it's probably simplifying it to say, do we suddenly make a car that looks radically different and head off on a different direction? The way we look at it as engineers is we will identify which areas are good enough and which are not good enough, and work on those. At the moment, the list of areas not good enough is bigger than we'd like, so we need to get stuck into dealing with that." Every top team has some sort of issue this season. Red Bull started the season really bad with reliability issues, which they seem to have gotten under control. Ferrari, which started the season off well, is not experiencing reliability issues despite finding a good match between performance and comfort. Mercedes is stuck with the porpoising issue and has only solved it to some extent on smoother tracks. Bumpier tracks are making it very hard for drivers, which has not caught the attention of the FIA. Now it has to find a solution to find a good match between performance and comfort, and that too really quickly, or else they are in big trouble. Let us know in the comments section what you think about the future of Mercedes this season. Make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell. That's it for today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.